I run one of the biggest lesson programs on Jorvik, and it is quickly growing. Lately, I haven't had enough schooling horses to go around. I've had to turn down too many eager and bright-eyed students. So as my clientele grows, I figure it's about time I start buying proper schoolmaster types to add to the program rather than using my personal horses. It's Molly Riversea, and today we are going to be trying out 5 horses and ponies and hopefully taking 1 or 2 home to our growing barn family at the Cosmic Equestrian Center. My budget for today is 3,000 shillings. We'll see how far that gets us. Anyways, we've got a very exciting journey, so let's get this show on the road, shall we? Our first stop of the day would be at the Starshine Ranch, where I would be trying out the cutest 14 two-hand appaloosa pony who, from the looks of the ad, would be the perfect addition to my lesson program. This was Ghost, a 12-year-old gelding. He was a little rough around the edges for 12, with some scars and minor sway back, probably from ill-fitting tack. That being said, his current owners informed me that he had been in an abuse and neglect situation before they got him, so that explains it, and I definitely wasn't going to let that stop me from giving him a try. Other than that, he looked healthy with a sturdy conformation and build. One thing to note about this horse is that he was blind in his left eye, but don't let that fool you because this horse was as sure-footed as any, if not more so. He has been primarily used as a trail horse, and apparently he doesn't shy away from anything on the trails, not any sort of inclines, rivers, logs, or even a scary rustle in a bush, which was a relief to hear because obviously I don't want to be putting my students on anything dangerous. When I was riding him along the ring, I noticed that when we were on the left rein, I really had to push him into the rail a bit more. It took a lot of effort and energy to get him there. His owner assured me that this is only because of the blindness in his left eye and that he usually doesn't do this, but since I'm a new rider, this is a new situation for him and he just needs some time and patience. Then he'll eventually trust his rider enough to steadily go along without hesitation. This did raise some concern with me though, because he's gonna have a diverse range of riders on him, from beginners who are just learning how to ride to my more advanced students who have a lot of experience and expertise. So he needs to be used to new and different people on him all the time, but I didn't want this to immediately make me cross him off the list because putting in confidence and gaining trust in a horse is really a good skill for my more intermediate to advanced students to learn. I will note my legs were feeling the burn. That's when you know a horse has pretty dual aids. He had a lot of woe on him, which I think was his favorite word. I guess it's a good thing he has more breaks than not. On to the positives though, he seemed to have a very solid foundation. He was very sure-footed, not spooky at all, so a safe one to put my students on. Ghost is definitely one for the running. Next up, we took a drive down to Steve's farm for a horse I was particularly excited to try. Meet Foxtail, a stunning selle francais cross who was very over budget at 4,000 shillings, but I couldn't help myself from checking her out. At 16 hands, this chestnut pinto had stunning conformation. She's got some impressive breeding behind her. Although I was in the market for more of a shorter prospect, at 16 hands, that is a bit of an intimidating ride for some beginners. Nonetheless, her ad said she was very safe, supposedly a gentle giant, plus she's got lots of experience and training behind her, being on the older side at 18 years. I really appreciated how loved this horse looked. She had a shiny coat, very fit, incredibly well-mannered on the ground and under saddle. She was very willing and forgiving, which is really what I like to see in a lesson horse. She was very forward without taking over and getting rushing tense on me. She went on the bit quite nicely and was really easy to get round. I really liked how she just floated across the arena and had that nice rocking horse canter. I also had the opportunity to try her over some jumps and she was super keen on the fences, very bold. She had been showing in hunter jumping, so she was nice and collected, not rushy at all. She just kept her brain. I saw her as the classic schoolmaster type. She'd just be perfect for my kids to learn on. I think she'd be especially great for my confident beginners, and it was clear that Foxtail had a really lovely education in her prime years to set her up to be such a confident and well-mannered horse now. However, if I were to buy her, she would be the only horse I would be able to buy this go around because she is so over budget, but for good reason. Moorland was our next destination as they take in a lot of projects and turn them around into really solid riding horses. So Moorland was actually going to be a 2-horse stop because they had a couple horses that caught my eye. The first horse I tried was Goldy. She was a 12-year-old 15 two-hand American Saddlebred mix that was rescued from a kill pen. Her before and after pictures were inspiring. Not only is she physically changed, but you can really see the light and brightness in her eye in that after shot. And I must say that gorgeous Palomino coat caught my eye in the ad, but of course that's not everything or really anything anything when it comes to looking for a horse. Coming into this, I knew that her conformation wasn't the prettiest from her ad pictures. She had a pretty weak top line, nothing too serious. And I also noticed she was looking a little bit cowhocked, which is when a horse's hind legs are kind of angled inward, which can affect their balance and movement for some, but I don't think it's anything substantial enough to affect her soundness moving forward, just things to consider as I was going into this trial ride. This was my first time riding an American Saddlebred. You know when you've been riding like a little pony for the longest time, and then you hop on a 17-hand thoroughbred and it feels like you're on an entirely different animal? Yeah, that's how this felt. Goldy had very unique gaits with that high stepping trot and a very lively canter. Her trot was particularly notable with very high stepping action that I can only imagine looked impressive from the ground. She was very quick to respond to my cues and changes in direction, a little too quick at times. I noticed she was very sensitive, so sensitive that she was a bit difficult to ride because she really picked up on every little thing. Very honest horse, which makes those advanced enough to handle that a better rider. Not so much a beginner, I think, because that could lead to a lot of frustration on both ends. And another thing that I noticed that might have been from my lack of expertise in her style of riding, but her pace seemed really inconsistent, generally rushy at times, and it was very bouncy. Probably my problem for not really being able to ride an American Saddlebred type, but I couldn't really get her to a nice steady rhythm for very long. There were moments where her sensitivity felt like it was kind of becoming flighty, not really a quality you want in a schoolmaster. Other than that, she was a very sweet girl. She's got the basics and a nice solid foundation, and you know, she really did want to please, so she's definitely not off the table because I appreciate a horse with a good work ethic. Goldy would probably be best suited for my intermediate to advanced lesson students who want to work with different types of horses and really expand their skills. Tux was the next horse to try in Moorland. This guy was the cutest little Morgan pony at 14 hands, and short and stubby, this handsome gelding was quite the looker with rare Rabicana coat. Look at that adorable pink nose. His ad said that he would be good for beginner and younger riders, and supposedly he was bomb-proof, so I was intrigued to see how this ride would go. I got to tack him up, and I did notice he was girth sour. That was a red flag for me because a girthy horse might indicate something more going on beneath the surface, or it could just mean that in the past he's had people girth him up way too quickly and he's just sour from that. But other than that, he had very nice ground manners, stood very nicely and wasn't all up in my business, so really respected my space. Apparently he has already spent some time as a lesson horse in his past life, but that barn went out of business, which is what brought him to Moorland. That's what really drew me to trying him out in particular. I like that he had that lesson horse experience already. The words I would use to describe this little beastie is small but mighty, because he is small and he is mighty. Tux was headstrong and stubborn and a little bit lazy, so basically perfect lesson horse material. No, in all seriousness, he had nice rhythm, smooth, comfortable paces. I felt very stable on him. Perhaps that was more so apparent because of the stark contrast from just having ridden Goldy, incredibly different horses. My big gripe is that he felt tense and wasn't very soft, so whenever I would transition to a halt or any downward transition, he would brace and pull the reins out of my hands, or he would pull the reins out of my hands to get a nibble of grass in typical lazy pony fashion. Certainly not a horse that respects the bit, but that could be a bad training habit I could work on over time. All things considered, he was a very simple ride, even considering his vices, so I think he'd be great for all my lesson students. This final horse, named Princess Peach, was up at Redwood Point, and this girl was a bit of a shot in the dark. She was a drafty cobby mare, which was very unlike anything I'd ever considered for my lesson program, but I really want a wide range of horses for the program, so I figured I would give her a try. Right off the bat, I noticed the facilities didn't have an arena, so I wasn't really sure where I'd be riding exactly. Seemed like the place was a little neglected, but I didn't want to judge too harshly just yet. There will be plenty of time for that when I actually see the horse. And then there was another red flag. She was already tacked up, which may have been someone's good intention, maybe someone just trying to be helpful, or maybe covering something up. So when I went to ask the owner about this, she kind of danced around my question. She didn't say if there was anything specifically wrong with the horse or if there wasn't. I didn't want to come to any conclusions too quickly. Quite frankly, it has always been my dream to ride these big drafty horses, so I really wanted to give her a go. Even if I was a little bit skeptical, it wouldn't work out in the end. Plus, I'm not an expert on conformation for drafty horses, but she looked very well built and like a promising horse. Not to mention, she had such a kind eye and gentle demeanor. She gave me some nose nuzzles muzzles and was just so precious. This girl is super huggable. Moving on to the trial ride, she was a bit fidgety when I was mounting, took a minute to actually get on, and I had to have someone help me hold her still. And I also noticed she had a very slow tempo to her trot. She actually seemed suspiciously tired. I could not get this horse into a canter. All I got from her was a slightly faster trot. I guess there were moments where she transitioned to canter and then she'd break right back down. Didn't really have very good steering either. I felt like I was just kind of pulling her around. She was sour to one side of the riding arena and kept spooking every time the wind would rustle. Her ad made her out to be this bomb-proof horse with the basics down. They hadn't mentioned anything about her being spooky or green. And then further into the ride, I started to notice that her left hind seemed off. So I just ended the trial ride off there. I don't think I'd feel comfortable buying such a wild card. This horse is too big for my lesson students to try and handle her vices. And if I worked on her, she would just become a project for me, which is not what I'm in the market for at the moment. At the end of the day, I just can't put my kid's safety on the line like that for this green mare. I do hope she lands a nice home that has the time to put into her, because I think if her circumstances change and that limp was figured out, she really could be a reliable leisure horse or something for someone, as she really does have a heart of gold. Super sweet mare. Well, I wish my horsey trying endeavor didn't have to end on kind of a sour note, but that's how it goes sometimes, I suppose, and I'm still glad I tried her. She was overall really cool. And I did try 4 other very intriguing prospects. Usually when I'm trying horses, I feel like I at least slightly know the direction I'm going to go. This time around, I'm less sure. Am I gonna go with Foxtail, who was my Goldilocks choice, but also way over budget? Or should I go with 2 horses that have less education, but will give my students more challenges and teachable moments, like Ghost, Goldy, or Tux? The reveal video is going to be here soon, so subscribe so you can stay up to date. Let me know what horses or horse you think I should get in the comments below. I've got loads of thinking to do. So with that being said, I'll see you guys next time. Bye everyone!